Metropolitan Council. Today is Thursday, November 15th, and I call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our October 24th meeting. I would entertain a motion for those minutes.
Move approval. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. At this point in the meeting, members of the public who wish to address the council on matters not on the agenda may do so, but I would just ask you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I don't see anyone signed up, but is there anyone who wishes to address the council? Seeing no one, then we can just move on next to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next, we'll hear from the standing committees. Councilmember Munt will read community development.
All right. Madam Chair, council members, this action is to award $2,500,000 in Livable Communities Local Housing Initiative Incentive Account grant funds in support of 5 multi-family rental and 2 single-family home ownership development projects. Upon completion, these projects are expected to result in 199 new and 49 preserved affordable rental homes and 5 new affordable ownership homes. The LHIA awards will help leverage over $44 million in other public investment and over $37 million in private investment. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council awards 7 local housing incentive account grants as listed in the Community Development Committee report, totaling $2.5 million for affordable housing projects in the Hennepin County suburbs and the cities of Coon Rapids, Inver Grove Heights, Maplewood, and Minneapolis. And that we authorize the Community Development Director to execute the grant agreement on behalf of the council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Yes, Member Dorfman.
Thank you. If we're on the item, I think we're on. I'm sorry I was late.
Livable communities.
Thank you. So I just want to mention that since we started the Livable Community Program in 1996, the Met Council has supported over 24,000 either building new or preserving affordable housing units throughout this region, which is really incredible. And I hope staff before the end of the year can actually do a little bit of looking back at the 8 years of the Dayton Council and inform us how many units have been supported during the 8-year tenure here.
Sure. Do you know the number, please?
Paul may have that number. I don't
Welcome.
know.
Madam Chair, council members, I was able to get that information together. From 2010 through last year, we don't have this year's all tabulated up yet, but from 2010 through 2007, through all the accounts, not just the local housing incentives account, but the council has funded 9,500 or helped fund 9,596 affordable units and 1,200 preserved units. That's a pretty good record, I'd say.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next on the agenda is the Transportation Committee. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to have a presentation on this item, and then I will make the motion.
Project director will be talking about grants, and finally Kelly McKeon, our agreements lead, will talk about some agreement pieces we have tonight.
Good evening, Madam Chair, council members. I am presenting the subrecipient agreement with the City of Eden Prairie for Eden Prairie Town Center Station, business item 2018-284. The Eden Prairie Town Center Station is located between Golden Triangle and Southwest Station in Eden Prairie. You can see it on the map there with the red dot. In 2015, the station was deferred from the project budget for budget reductions. And in 2016, the city applied to the council for federal CMAQ funding. In 2017, TAB awarded the grant to the city. The grant project includes two parts. One part is the construction of Eden Prairie Town Center Station, and the other part is the acquisition of some additional right-of-way that's needed for station access to the station. The cost estimate is just over $7.6 million, with 80% federal funding and 20% local funding. The City of Eden Prairie passed a resolution in May of 2018 to pay for that local funding and also for 100% of any additional funds, funding that would be needed for additional costs. In addition, the federal CMAQ funds and local match were approved in the second quarter budget amendment 2018-153. This is a rendering of the station, looking from Eden Road, looking northeast. And I want to mention that the station plans are completed. They're on the shelf, ready to go. The process would be that we would issue this as a change order to the civil construction contract and to the systems contract. This is another rendering of the station, looking northwest at the station from Eden Road. And in summary, the subrecipient agreement will memorialize the subrecipient's report and expenditure of grant funds, the local match amount and responsibility, and how the grant funds are used to reimburse the project for the construction of Eden Prairie Town Center Station. And finally, I'd like to recommend that we authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a subrecipient agreement with the City of Eden Prairie related to the funding and construction of Eden Prairie Town Center Station to be built with the Southwest LRT project. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a subrecipient agreement with the City of Eden Prairie, the grant subrecipient related to the funding and construction of Eden Prairie Town Center Station as part of the Southwest Light Rail Transit Project.
Great. Is there any discussion on this item?
I second the motion.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Any discussion on this item? Go ahead, Member Munt.
Madam Chair, I'm really grateful to the City of Eden Prairie because when we had to tighten our belt in this project, they were willing to give up the station, and it's so glad to see it added back. This is the station that's closest to Eden Prairie Center, and it has huge potential for new housing and equity benefits.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would echo those comments and of appreciation to the City of Eden Prairie, and I'm very happy that we're able to add the station back at this time. So, if there are no further comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. So next on the agenda, we have a series of items on Southwest, and maybe we can start with a little bit of an overview or an introduction to all of them. From Mr. Alexander, would you like to begin?
Madam Chair, I'd be glad to do that. Actually, I'm very happy to be here tonight. It's a huge milestone for the project and for the council and the region as a whole. The first item we have, we're going to talk about the civil construction contract, which we have been discussing for quite a bit over the last several months. And we also have a quality management services contract award that we'd like to have you consider. And then there's a grant agreement that we would have with the county. And finally, we'll talk about some items related to the BNSF agreements related to existing structures and assignments of those existing structures to the council. So just starting off with business item 2018-193, this is the civil construction. And you've seen this slide in the past. This is the overall construction scope, 16 new stations, and it would include that Eden Prairie Town Center Station that Sarah had spoken of. 44 structures all told, 29 new, and they kind of run the gamut of the LRT, pedestrian, roadway, and freight. You've got everything in there with the kitchen sink, and 7 existing bridges that we'll be touching to do modifications, 6 pedestrian tunnels, and there's 2 cut and cover tunnels for the LRT, one going under Trunk Highway 62 between Minnetonka and Eden Prairie, and then in the Kenilworth corridor. 15 at-grade LRT crossings, of which 5 of those are shared with freight, and over 100 retaining walls, actually about, I think we're up to 118 right now. And track, all told, you see the number there, that's both freight and LRT, and just under 8 miles of shared corridor with freight. So the background on this is we reissued the invitation for bid back in October of 2017, and in November we held a pre-proposal pre-bid meeting, and then in May we received 2 bids, one from Lunda CS McCrossin joint venture for just under $800 million, and the second one from Ames Kramer at $812 million. And our procurement office did look at those bids, and they determined they were both responsive and responsible. And our OEO department had been looking at that as well, and had also outside project partners looking at the workforce pieces here. OEO did determine that the London McCrossin joint venture bid did meet DB goal of 16%, which was programmed out well before we advertised. So tonight, Madam Chair, council members, the recommendation is to authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a contract with London McCrossin joint venture in the amount of $799,514,338.22, contingent upon receipt of a letter of no prejudice from the Federal Transit Administration and approval of that LONP from Hennepin County. And I can report to you that I did receive correspondence from FTA yesterday about 4 o'clock that did give us the letter from FTA Region 5 on the letter of no prejudice. And just earlier this afternoon, the county and HICRA, so the Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority, they both approved that LONP. And so we have those pieces done, and we're just up here for consideration for you all tonight. So I will pause with that for a moment.
So do you want to read the motion, and we'll do a second, and then we can have discussion?
Yes, and before I do that, I want to paraphrase Vice President Biden. This is a big dang deal. So I will read the motion formally. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a contract for civil construction for the Southwest LRT project to Lunda CS McCrossin joint venture for $799,514,338.22, contingent upon the letter of no prejudice from the Federal Transit Administration and approval of the letter of no prejudice work from Hennepin County.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Member Dorfman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I cry at major milestones, so I'm going to try not to do that today. So this has been, as we all know, a very long journey to this point today to make Southwest LRT a reality. And I know this because yesterday when we got the good news of the letter of no prejudice from the FTA, someone reminded me that I had brought my son to one of the first Southwest LRT meetings that I had, and he was 11 at the time, and now he's 30. So while we had some fits and starts along the way, you know, ultimately it was a very inclusive journey that involved the cities, the businesses, residents, neighborhoods, all along the corridor, that fully explored all alternative modes and alignments, and that successfully navigated a number of obstacles by being willing to make changes when we received and learned new information and heard from people. So I'm really anxious to take this vote today, but if you'll indulge me, I want to mention a few people that never get any attention who have worked long and hard on this project. The elected officials, of course, from the 5 cities along the corridor, and from Hennepin County Board, and certainly this Met Council have all been incredible. And the cities in particular and the elected officials fully participated in the various policy and steering committees, helping to build consensus as this project developed. Of course, Hennepin led this project for the first half of its development until turning it over to the Met Council, and Hennepin's continued involvement and commitment of funding has been absolutely critical to gaining agreements with the railroads and to getting the letter of no prejudice yesterday, Peter McLaughlin, of course, in particular. But I want to talk about a group of staff who were never in the media, and they were really happy about that, but who staff the various policy and steering committees, community and business advisory councils, the Community Works Initiative, helped guide the many consultants who served this project, drafted environmental reports, and met with neighborhood groups over and over and over again. And they were affectionately known as the WOW Group, Women of the West, and they were, see, I'm going to cry, Janet Jeremiah from Eden Prairie, Kirsten Alberum and Tara Beard from Hopkins, Meg McGonigal from St. Louis Park, Julie Wishnak from Minnetonka, and they were known as WOW. And then they were joined by Jack Byers from Minneapolis and became known after that as JWOW. And they have been part of this process all along and helped guide us on this very long journey. And so I wanted to mention them since they never get mentioned. And I just want to thank everybody from the project office and the Met Council leadership, Aileen's leadership, as well as our prior chairs who have worked long and hard on this project. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Briefly, my experience over my own personal journey about understanding what makes a champion. Champions are agile, they adapt, they're persistent, and they persevere. And that's what you did. The staff did. Not us. We're just up here voting. But that's what you did. And that's what I'm most proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the chair that's here today, and the prior chair that was here, because I know they sacrificed a lot of their life to make this project happen. Hennepin County, for sure, did a lot to make this project happen. I also want to thank many of the residents in the community that came out, made this a real democratic process. I know I heard both people that were for this project, against this project. Was in St. Louis Park. I remember being there with Councilmember Munt and I were on a big old stage with a couple of other council members and taking a lot of feedback on the project. And I remember being in North Minneapolis in my district, hearing from residents about what this Southwest LRT would mean for them in terms of jobs, economic opportunity, et cetera. For me, this project, I've been through many different iterations of elation, not knowing where it's going to go, and feeling that we did at one point step back to hear more from the community. I think that was such a critical, and I think many remember I raised that issue, and I think that happened, and I feel much more comfortable with it. This project was done in a way that ensured that everybody had a seat at the table in the conversation about what this happened. The staff, I cannot thank you enough. I cannot say so proud of the professionalism, so proud to serve with you in a public service. Just, we certainly went round about some things as well, but I just want to say this moment for me is a big moment because we lived this project. I've got a few scars on my back, but I'm sure you have more. So thank you, everyone, and I'm just glad we're here at this moment.
Thank you. Other member Munt.
Madam Chair, my heart just about jumped out of my chest when I heard that we got the green light. I want to thank each and every one of you. There have been so many times when it would have been easy to walk away from this project, but you didn't do that. And this is so much more than just connecting people between points A and B. This is a commitment to workforce development, it's a commitment to better climate policy, and it's a commitment to more affordable housing. And I am really glad that we did this in a way that the residents along the line could plan for and benefit from this. So to me, the work begins when we toss the first shovel of dirt, but it continues from there to make sure that this fully realizes its potential. And to the staff, there have been at least 1,000 problems that you have solved, that you have worked around in order to make this project stay on track. I am forever grateful to you, and let's do this.
Thank you. Member Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am really proud of the staff and also the leadership on this. I got to work on it more intensely over the last year, and I saw firsthand what the staff did. It was heroic, and I include in that both the special project staff, but also regional administration staff. And very grateful to our chair, her dedication and creativity and just smarts on this really is making this happen today. Also want to thank Commissioners McLaughlin and Callison. It really was a team effort, and I thank you all for it.
Thank you. Member Dorfman.
I wouldn't forgive myself. I neglected to mention the staff at Hennepin who headed up the staff working group from the cities were Katie Walker from Hennepin and Carrie Pierce-Rue, formerly of my office. So I just wanted to thank you.
Good additions. Thank you. Member Reynoso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I mean, I echo everything that's already been said, and I don't want to say it again, but, you know, it's somewhat easy for us to vote on this, but it's the staff, and we keep on hearing it's about the staff. So I'm wondering if we can have people that have worked on this project in the audience maybe stand up and give them a round of applause, because honestly, they're the backbone to what kept this going.
Sure, please go ahead and stand, all of you. Thank you. Great idea. Other comments? Member Munt.
Madam Chair, one thing that we need to note is this is going to create 7,500 new jobs with a payroll of $350 million. And 1/3 of that work is going to be done by people of color, 15% of it by women. This is really a way to put money in people's pockets, create good jobs and equitable outcomes.
Thank you. Well, I feel like this is my opportunity to express my excitement again. I think yesterday, I feel like I did a pretty good job doing that yesterday, but I can do it again today. This is really an incredible moment. After 2 decades of work, we're finally ready to begin construction on this project. And I know it has not been an easy path. But like we say, projects of this scale and size are often very difficult to build, and you can plan and redesign and plan, and still you'll find new challenges ahead. And the fact that we're here today taking this action, I think, is a testament to the importance of this project for our region. Each time we encountered a hurdle, and many of you spoke about this, as we met with the community, encountered feedback, and we really had amazing staff, and our team were able to rise to the challenge and find a path forward in some of the most difficult situations. So I could speak for a very long time about this project and getting us to this point, and really being able to say how this project is going to elevate our region as we compare ourselves against other peer regions. I was invited recently to Austin, Texas, to talk about their regional vision for building out a transportation plan, and really think about it as kind of a team sport, right? There are many of us that are involved, and each of us kind of play different roles. And I think the fact that we're here at this moment, there's a lot of people on the team that we really need to thank. And so I really want to start with thanking the Federal Transit Administration for their partnership on this project. They've been with us through each step and really have been able to provide very good feedback. And so I'm grateful for both the FTA and USDOT Secretary for their support. Governor Dayton was delighted to get this news yesterday. I think it was, he also felt like it was a hard-earned moment for the project, but also he was very excited. The Hennepin County Board, I had the opportunity to be with the Hennepin County Board this afternoon and thank them personally for their contributions and their leadership on this project. But I really do especially need to thank Commissioner Peter McLaughlin. When I first moved to this region, actually even before I got here, meeting with folks in Washington, D.C., over and over again, people said the person you need to talk to about building out a regional transit vision is Peter McLaughlin. And I think that that's absolutely true. And when I was in Austin, I was thinking about who do you need on your team to help advance a project? And I was like, you kind of need a Peter. You need somebody who has the vision and the tenacity and the personality to be able to take arrows and be able to kind of champion a vision. And I think he's really done that, and really am grateful for his leadership on this project. Commissioner Callison, of course, has been a tremendous leader, as well as Commissioners Green and Commissioner Higgins. And I'll thank you in a separate moment. Commissioner Dorfman, Councilmember Dorfman in her previous role. The previous Met Council chairs that have worked on this project, there's been a number of us. Chair Dunnick, Sue Haig. I had the opportunity to talk to Chair Dunnick, former Chair Dunnick, yesterday, and he was absolutely delighted to get this news too, feeling like he's also been through a number of difficult moments with the project. Our federal delegation, I can't speak highly enough for the work that Senator Klobuchar, Tina Smith, and Congressman Ellison have really put into supporting this project all along. The mayors and the council members of all of the cities along the line, Nancy Tyra Lukens, Brad Weirsom, Terry Schneider, Molly Cummings, Eugene Maxwell, Jake Spano, Jeff Jacobs, Mayor Jacob Fry, Betsy Hodges, R.T. Rybeck, and our state senators and representatives. There's a lot of people that have been involved in this. I'm not done. And all of our Met Council members, especially Katie Rodriguez, your leadership in this past year has been tremendous in supporting many difficult negotiations that we've been through with railroads and other third-party agreements, and really appreciate your steadfast support and leadership on this project. Gail Dorfman has brought her expertise from Hennepin County to the council and has been tremendous. To be here at this moment and to share that with you as somebody who has just been involved in this for the last year and a half in this role, but really only in this region for 6 years. There are so many folks who have really spent a lot of time working on this. Mayors of the cities, members of the Corridor Management Committee for their time and discussion. I'm just going to name everyone. I'm sorry. Jason Gadd from the Hopkins City Council, Mary Hovland from Medina, Councilmember James Brynmeyer, Kathy Nelson from the Eden Prairie City Council, Russ Adams, Community Advisory Committee Co-Chair Assad Alouid from the New American Academy. The business community, I can't speak enough about how the business community has come up to support the project, especially the Minneapolis Chamber, St. Paul Chamber, the State Chamber, as well as the kind of community advisory committees and business advisory committees, Will Roach and Dan Duffy, Metro Transit General Manager Brian Lamb for your steadfast leadership and helping us bring together the regional transit system and leading your team through some very challenging times. Really appreciate your support. Our region is better off with you here. And the project staff under Jim Alexander and Joan Hollick, amazing work over a long period of time. All of the staff at Hennepin County, really appreciate both when I used to work in Hennepin County and now in this current role, your expertise, your leadership, and your guidance on this project. I know you guys have also been with our staff working really hard to get us to this moment, so thank you so much. Members of the Southwest LRT community, and I think many of you mentioned really how feedback from our community members has brought us a better project. It's given us the opportunity to weigh input and really kind of change the overall structure, and in some cases make major design changes because of input from the public. I also have to thank the team here in regional administration with Wes Koistra and your leadership, Judd Shetman, Meredith Bettis, Kate Brickman, Ann Bloodhart, Mary Bogey, procurement office, contracts, legal staff, and then finally to our bidder, Linda McCrossan, joint venture, for your patience and your willingness to extend your bid and kind of sticking it out with us to be able to get to this moment. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that I should have thanked, but I feel like I finally had my moment with the microphone to go through that list of people. When we talk about the team, it is a really big team because these projects are big and they're complex, and it really takes all hands on deck to get to this moment. And so I'm just delighted to be here and share it with all of you. Any other comments? So seeing none, then I'll take, we had the motion, we had a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted.
Yay. Yay.
We have a number of items though, guys, so sorry, we're not done.
All right.
So the second item on the quality management
Other
services
business
contract.
here. So, Madam Chair, council members, the second item is, or the third item is about quality management services, item 2018-194. So we've talked with you about this in the past. This was brought about through a Brooks Act procurement to get a consultant to develop quality assurance management plan and quality assurance testing and inspection plan to really be our eyes and ears out there doing the testing of soils and concrete, those type of things. And so we have gone through that procurement process, which began in February of this year, and where we issued a request for proposal for the quality management services. And we held a pre-proposal meeting in March and received 2 proposals in April. An evaluation panel did take a look at those proposals, the technical proposals, as done typically for a Brooks Act, and identified Braun Intertech as the most technically qualified proposer. And so the OEO folks also looked at that proposal and determined that Braun Intertech met the DBE goal that was set out at 15%. So, Madam Chair, council members, the recommendation here tonight is to authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a contract with Braun Intertech in the amount not to exceed $36,003,363.72 for quality management services for this project.
Do you want to read the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and indulge me, but I forgot to thank Hennepin County staff, and I'm thrilled that you're here because I did get to witness their contribution firsthand, and I'm very grateful. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to award and execute a contract for quality management services for the Southwest LRT project in an amount not to exceed $36,003,363.72 to Braun Intertech Corporation following award of the civil contract.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next, we'll move on to 2018-259. Is there a presentation on this one? Thank you.
Madam Chair, council members, Joan Hollick, Interim Director of the New Starts Program, here to present business item 2018-259, a capital grant agreement with Hennepin County. The council submitted a grant request to Hennepin County for $434.9 million. This funding request will fund activities that the project will undertake during the limited notice to proceed period for civil construction. Those are the construction activities that were authorized by the letter of no prejudice from the Federal Transit Administration, and many other support activities that I'll list here momentarily. The duration of this agreement is from December 2018 through August of 2019, and Hennepin County and Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority will provide funding under this agreement, and they will split those shares 80%, 20% respectively. The additional activities included in this grant are the design support activities during construction, the construction activities, as Jim mentioned, performed by our contractor under the letter of no prejudice, the demolition of vacant structures out in the Hopkins site, appraisal and relocation and right-of-way acquisition activities, as well as project office expenses, which includes staff, as well as the brick and mortar of the project office. There are several commitments that we've entered into with third parties, including some of the railroads. Those activities and obligations will be funded under this agreement as well. And last, but certainly not least, the light rail vehicle design and production, which is already underway, but will continue to advance during this period. And also mention that the activities that the project staff and working with the FTA will undertake to submit our FFTA application once we receive the invitation from the Federal Transit Administration. So I'll pause there for any questions.
Seeing none, do you want to just read the recommendation? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a capital grant agreement for the limited notice to proceed period with Hennepin County and Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority in the amount of $434,901,943 to provide funding necessary for LNTP project activities during the period December 2018 to August 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair, may I add that the Hennepin County Board and the Hennepin County Regional Rail Board met earlier today, and both boards approved this agreement.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next, we'll move on to 2018-295.
Madam Chair, council members, my name is Kelly McKeon. I manage the agreements program for the Southwest Light Rail Transit Project. I'm here today to present business items number 295, 296, and 297. The first two business items relate to the Loose Line Regional Trail Bridge located in Minneapolis. This is a bridge that's currently owned by MnDOT and the City of Minneapolis maintains. The Loose Line Bridge is located across BNSF right-of-way pursuant to existing agreements between BNSF, the city, and MnDOT. As part of the project, the council will demo the existing bridge and reconstruct a new bridge closer to the Bassett Creek Station for better connectivity to the pedestrian and bicycle, or better access for bicycle and pedestrians. Before construction, MnDOT and the city will assign their existing rights to the council. Once the new bridge is built, BM will grant an easement to the council, which will supersede and terminate the old rights. And the council will then assign that easement to the city. MnDOT's interest in that bridge will terminate. This slide shows a location of the existing bridge. You can kind of see it up and down the little shadow there, and the new bridge is in yellow. The first recommendation for business item 2018-295 is to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an agreement with MnDOT to allow the council to assume all the rights, titles, interests, and obligations for the Loose Line Regional Trail Bridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an assignment agreement with Minnesota Department of Transportation for the Loose Line Regional Trail Bridge.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion is adopted. Is there another component to this one? Or is
Yes.
that one it? Okay.
The second recommendation for business item 2018-296
go.
is to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an agreement with the city of Minneapolis to allow the council to assume the rights, titles, interests, and obligations for the Loose Line Regional Trail Bridge and to assign the new easement to the city upon completion of construction of that bridge.
Thank you. Member Rodriguez, do you want to just read the read the recommendation?
Yes. I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an assignment of an assumption of agreement with the city of Minneapolis for the Loose Line Regional Trail Bridge.
Thanks. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion is adopted. I'm stalling a tiny bit, if you may or may not have noticed. Trying to give Peter McLaughlin some time to get here. But I don't know if he's going to be able to make it given traffic. So then we can just move on to the next item, 2018-297.
Madam Chair, council members, this business item is related to the Glenwood Avenue Bridge. Hennepin County owns and maintains the Glenwood Avenue Bridge in Minneapolis. The bridge crosses a BNSF right-of-way pursuant to existing agreements between the county and BNSF. As part of the project, the council will demo the existing bridge and reconstruct the bridge in three structures. There'll be two roadway bridges and an LRT bridge which bisects the two roadway bridges, essentially an intersection above BN's right-of-way. Hennepin County will own the roadway bridges and the council will own the LRT bridge. Together, the three bridges will be used for LRT, vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. The following agreements are required for the Glenwood Avenue Bridge. First, we have a cooperative construction agreement between the council and the county. This will allow the council to accept the county's rights to the existing bridge. It also permits the council to demo and reconstruct the bridge pursuant to the terms of the civil contract and the construction agreement between the council and BNSF. The next agreement is an operations and maintenance agreement, which defines the roles and responsibilities related to the maintenance and repair of the bridges. The council will be responsible for maintaining the LRT bridge and all LRT components. The county would be responsible for maintaining the two roadway bridges. And in addition, the council would assume liability for anything related to but for LRT. The property transactions include an overpass easement, an assignment and conveyance agreement, and an LRT easement. So when we complete construction of the Glenwood Bridge suitable for roadway traffic, BM will grant an easement to the council for that use. The council will hold on to that roadway easement while we complete construction of the LRT components and the systems contract, and until the time we begin revenue service. We'll then assign that roadway easement to the county, and BN will grant an easement to the council to permit light rail use on the bridge. The yellow on the map here is the LRT flyover, and you can also see the Glenwood Bridge down in the corner. And this is an image of what that might look like when it's finally constructed. The recommendation for business item 2018-297 is to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the following agreements with the county: a cooperative construction agreement, an assignment and conveyance agreement, an operations and maintenance agreement, and any other legal documents or agreements necessary to implement those transactions.
This is just a reminder, I feel like, of how complex some of these agreements are. This is one bridge, right? Member Rodriguez, would you like to read the recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate agreements with Hennepin County for the assignment, demolition, and reconstruction of the Glenwood Avenue Bridge, governing the operations, maintenance, and capital repair of the reconstructed bridges and the bisecting light rail transit bridge, and other legal documents necessary to implement the above described agreements.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I wanted to add one more person that I wanted to thank from before, and that was Mark Furman, and he's not here today, but I really feel like his contribution to transit in the region has been really tremendous over the years, and really can't believe I forgot to mention his name. So,
Madam Chair?
Please.
We did miss one other chair that worked on this. Peter Bell also
Peter
was
Bell.
involved.
Thank you for mentioning Peter Bell. That's right. Anyone else want to remember anyone else we should thank? Thank you for doing that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This motion is adopted. So that, sure, Member Dorfman.
I was wondering if Jim or somebody on the staff, now that we've taken this action today, if you could talk a little bit about what comes next and what people out in the community are going to see as we move forward.
Yes, Madam Chair, Councilmember Dorfman, we certainly do that. This is kind of a brief slide because we're going to do more than this, but just the immediate stuff. We really we've been out there in the arena talking about all the stuff that's going to happen. We really need the contractor to be tabled with us to start talking about what's going to happen. We have an idea, but gentlemen are in the audience here. We're very anxious to start talking with them about the next steps. But to do that, we need to get to the issuing of the limited notice to proceed. So by our procurement process, we are looking to have that done by the 14th of December. Hope to get it done sooner. There's paperwork needs to be done, bonds and all that kind of good stuff, and then begin construction activities. So there's a lot in that second bullet in terms of construction activities. So we look at precondition surveys. We look at starting to mow. There's $800 million contract. There's a lot of stuff involved, and we mentioned all the structures just in itself. And there's going to be set up to get things established. We'll have a field office, and once things gets underway, we have a number of buildings that will need to be come down that we've gone through. We've already, I can report to you that we're going to give you an update later, I think in the month of December, that we have nearly all of the 153 parcels under title possession. That's pretty remarkable. We have two more. We'll have two more remaining in December, and we'll have those wrapped up in early January. So we're really in a good spot in that regard. And do appreciate all your efforts in approving those items as we've gone through, because it's been quite the big thing to tackle. But then we'll be really getting underway. I would imagine on Central Corridor, at least on the Civil West that I was more closely tied to, it was 60 days before we started turning any dirt, and so I wouldn't look for anything too remarkable, except for maybe a little festivities after Thanksgiving to just to acknowledge the milestone we have here. I wouldn't look at anything really turning dirt until sometime in the first quarter of 19. Particularly as we're going into winter now. Well, if we have a more moderate winter, that activity might start sooner rather than later. But 2019 will be very, very busy. And as we've talked about, the 14.5 miles is linear corridor, a lot of things happening all over the line. I think we've shared with you in the past kind of the areas where London McCrossin has looked at doing work. It really goes over all the way out to Southwest, and so some of that work we've been talking to Lynn Simmons just so you're aware about kind of gearing him up for him vacating his premises so we can start work under the way there. So a lot of things happening as we get under contract with Lynn Recrossen. We'll be able to report to you on a regular basis as we start to understand more about what's going to be happening. And we have a full team that is ready to start talking about construction, getting out to the community. We have plans to talk to community and individual cities to make sure everybody's dialed in. Similar to what we did on Central Corridor, we'll have that outreach. That's going to be very important as we embark on this construction effort, because it's going to impact a lot of people. And particularly with construction already happened like 35W, it just compounds, the kind of the constraints that we'll have to deal with. They'll make sure we get that communicated as efficiently and effectively as possible. So it's kind of where we're at now, and I think it's a big liftoff to get into that next stage for us.
Member Dorfman.
And you may not be able to answer this. Is there any, just because it's been one of the more sensitive parts of the project, where we're going to tunnel in the area of the Kenilworth corridor where we need to do that? When's that work likely to start? Do we have an idea of that yet?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Dorfman, I would say that's, I'll put it in the Q1 of 2019. Again, we need to kind of pinpoint. We have, as part of our due diligence, we have an idea of how that's all going to play out, but we're not doing the work. And so we're going to have to talk to our contractor partners to understand exactly how that's going to be done. Now, we know that some of those points in the Kenilworth corridor are kind of critical path items, particularly getting the railroad to move, and so some of those things might be happening fairly soon to kind of set the stage for that tunnel work. But as far as pinpointing, I think we'll need to talk with Lynn Recrossen to start getting more detail as we get underway.
Thank you.
I would also just note that we are planning a ceremonial groundbreaking here before the end of this month. And I just noticed that Hennepin County Commissioner Peter McLaughlin is here and would just like to recognize you if you would like to come up and share any comments with us. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. You'll be happy to know that we approved the operating subsidy for the Metro Transit at the board. That was the last thing I voted on before I ran out the door. It was approved unanimously. As I think about this, I try to put this in context and what we collectively have accomplished here in this region over the last 20 years with this partnership between counties and the Metropolitan Council, federal government, state government, is the beginnings of the creation of a 21st century transit system. And we're well on our way. We got 4 lines in operation. They're doing major lines in operation right now, 2 light rail, 1 commuter rail, 1 bus rapid transit. We've got 1 under construction on 35W, and we're hoping to get the additional federal grant to finish that up all the way into Dakota County by the end of the year. And now we've got this $800 million civil contract for Southwest. And this is transforming. I mean, Met Council is the agency that's supposed to be looking at the long-term economic progress of the region. These infrastructure investments are transformative. The interstate highway system was transformative. These investments that we have been making together are transformative, and that's what this is about. That's how we've managed to do it. They're always hard. It's always hard, but I just want to say that Hennepin County is proud to be a partner. The 5 counties that were in CTIB were proud to be a partner, and as I've said a few times, we put CTIB together to build the Green Line, and we took it apart to build the Green Line extension. And so, we did what it took. And I was proud to be in partnership with the council. I appreciate the hard work that your staff did in conjunction with our staff. It was tricky stuff to do, very complicated. And the FTA came through. Somebody asked me yesterday, was it an accident that the letter came just before your bids were going to go go sour. And I said, no, it wasn't an accident. They knew the date. They didn't want to increase the price of the project, and they gave us an answer in time, just in time. But they gave us an answer in time so that you could act, we could act this afternoon. And so it has been, these are important things. I mean, when people look back at the history of this region, they're going to look at these major investments that we managed to drag over the finish line, and they're going to help define what this community is about. And whether it's attracting new workers here, giving existing communities, particularly communities of color, greater access to jobs and to education, all the things that we're trying to do here, it's going to make a difference in the long-term economic prospects of the people of the metropolitan area and the long-term economic prospects of the communities, the many, many communities that are represented here. It has been a pleasure to work with you, Madam Chair. We have, I don't know how many phone calls. I think I was on the phone more with you than with my wife over the last year and a half, just trying to figure these things out, and we did.
Yep.
And that's what it takes. And I would give a shout out to Commissioner Dorfman, who was there present at the creation of this thing, and all the good work that you did. And you've had strong support on our county board for this project and the whole enterprise. And I think we should celebrate the success we've had and keep forging ahead. We've got, again, 4 big lines that have been built. You've got the arterial busway 1 in operation that I use all the time. You've got Penn Avenue North under construction. I went up to NAS this morning and just checked out Penn Avenue on my way back downtown, and it's looking good. And then we're going to get, we've got the 2 lines that are going to be under construction, but then we've got other lines in the queue as well, whether it be Bodno or Riverview or Gold Line or Rush Line. We have the makings of a regional system. It's been a pleasure to work on those, and I thank all of you for the support. Those of us who are we have responsibilities as leading these committees. Katie Rodriguez, was there in the meetings to hammer this thing through in the last year. Jan Callison. We bring the decisions along with you. We bring the decisions to you and back to my board and to the governor, but you had to trust us, in the judgments that we were making and the agreements that we were crafting. So, without yours being with us, it wouldn't have happened. And I'm going to end with the governor. He stuck with us, folks. He stuck with us on this. And there were I always like to say, when you get called to the governor's residence at 7:30 on Sunday night, it's not usually a good meeting. And we had one of those for sure on this project, where it was looking, mighty grim. But he stuck with it, and he and I go back a long way talking about these transit investments, and I think during his administration, we've done well to, again, add yet another component to this transportation system. So I thank all of you. I thank you, Madam Chair, Katie in particular, your staff people that we worked with, my staff, a lot of them are back here. They've done a heck of a job as well. And my colleagues, both at Hennepin County, but on these other county boards too, that created CTIB and made some major investments. So I thank you. I'm glad I could make it over. I'm glad we improved your operating out subsidy, but I'm glad I made it over here just in the nick of time. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your leadership and support. So I'll just give you a Terrific. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the presentations and all the action items. We have one final information item, and I would just propose that we do just a quick introduction of this. This is going to come back a number of times, this following item on the proposed bylaw amendments. Really, this should be just a quick introductory overview. I think you took it up in management. It will go back to management. And then it needs to also come back to the council another time. So there's a lot of opportunity for discussion of this. So this evening's quick introduction is just to let people know that this is on the agenda. And just take a minute to read it, and we'll bring it back to management committee for additional discussion rather than kind of trying to introduce it. It's on the agenda to flag for you to please pay attention to it. With that, if there are any council member reports, anyone have anything they'd like to report?
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, following up on this moment, when you're in the middle of the conventional metaphor of battle, you lose sight of the big picture, just around us. So try and put this in context. Last Thursday morning, a third-year student from Iowa State did a Skype interview with me about this. This is part of her project. She's pursuing a degree in planning at Iowa State. So here's a student outstate wondering, when is Southwest going to happen? So when we talk about the legacy of the work, we want to try to remember that. Otherwise, we lose it in the dust, go on to the next major project, and we just forget about what the legacy is going to be for somebody. So this is somebody who's probably 20 years old and wants to come back to the Twin Cities.
That's great.
And use it. So thanks.
Thank you. Well, I was thinking about Member Dorfman's comment about her son being 11. I plan to bring my 5-year-old and the 8-year-old to the groundbreaking so that they can see the investments that we're making for them in the region. Any other reports? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? We are